Welcome into a special edition of the Dazn Boxing Show. I'm Chris Mannix, joined by former junior middleweight champion, Latino Heat himself, Sergio Mora, and Dazn Boxing Show's own aficionados, Ak and Barak, co-host of the aforementioned Dazn Boxing Show. Today we're going to take a closer look at the biggest star in boxing, that being Canelo Alvarez. And we'll ask the question many boxing fans, and quite frankly fighters at this point, are eagerly awaiting: what's next for Canelo? So what does the future hold for the undisputed super middleweight? Fights at 168 pounds? A run at light heavyweight? Or what about a fight to cement his legacy? We will look at each of these options and try to determine what is next for Canelo. We started the division, only took Canelo 11 months to rule super middleweight. We've heard the rumors of Jermall Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, and Triple G moving up to get the trilogy. Fight fans still desperately want to see that trilogy. David Benavidez is out there as well. Ak, let's start with you. Of the four fighters I just mentioned, who do you think would be the most likely for Canelo to fight next?
Well, Barack and I talked about this on the show earlier this week. I mean, I'm thinking Charlo now. Keep in mind, all of these fights are great. And at this point in Canelo's career, it's like damn if you do, damn if you don't with him. It doesn't matter who he fights. People are going to attack him. If he goes up to light heavyweight, they're going to say those guys aren't really that skilled. If he goes to cruiserweight and fights, that guy, he's not a good fighter. If he fights guys that are coming up in weight, there's always going to be a problem. But the reason why I like the Jermall Charlo fight is I know Charlo's resume isn't super deep, but the guy does have a couple of good, names on his resume. He beat Austin Trout. Austin Trout had only lost to Lara and Canelo at the time. He went on to beat Derevchenko, and Derevchenko's body type is similar to Canelo. No, I'm not comparing him to Canelo as far as skills, but he has fast hands. He's coming from that similar stance, moving forward, and that he obviously looked good against Derevchenko, and he does have a name. People are intrigued about that matchup, about the Charlo matchup. Even though Charlo is not a super middleweight, he's a champion at middleweight, a WBC champion. And Chris, I know you want to see Jermall Charlo and Andre, but putting that fight to the side, since we're talking Canelo, to me the most intriguing matchup might not be the biggest fight. I know Triple G is still the biggest fight for Canelo, but the most intriguing matchup for me is Jermall Charlo.
Charlo Andre, that's an intriguing idea. I've never actually considered that on any level. Sergio, you heard Ak talk about Triple G being the biggest fight. It probably still is. I mean, whether you're in East LA or in Boston, you walk down the street and people know Triple G Canelo off the heels of those two great fights back in 2017 and 2018. So looking at Triple G now, as he approaches 40 years old, why should Canelo take a Golovkin fight now?
Yeah, walk down the mean streets of Boston, right, Chris? And you'll find out, people have a liking for Triple G, and they want to see the trilogy because there's unfinished business there. There's closure. And if you look at the greatest trilogies of all time, of course, Ali Frazier, that wasn't needed. It ended in a knockout. Look at the fight of the year last year with Fury and Wilder. That wasn't needed, and that was fight of the year. This is that type of fight. You mentioned it. Golovkin's already going to be pushing 40. The first two fights were razor thin, but a lot of people have that type of memory where they forget real quick, and the young guns come in and they look at the Charlos, the Beterbievs, and everyone else, the Joe Smiths and Benavidez. They want the young guys. I still want the Triple G fight because there's unfinished business there. I need the closure. I watched both these guys. They were razor thin, both fights. I need that closure. I know the way the fight's going to end. I think the majority of the people are going to know how it ends, but I still need to see it. I still need to see that knockout.
So Barak, the only true super middleweight in that bunch is David Benavidez, who has been a two-time champion at 168 pounds. When Eddie Reynoso, the trainer and manager for Canelo, talks about Benavidez, he's pretty dismissive. He sort of shrugs his shoulders and said he hasn't really done anything to earn that type of fight. What do you think Benavidez has to do? What's it going to take for Benavidez to get a Canelo fight?
Well, first of all, I think that Eddie Reynoso thinks that Benavidez is young and he's inexperienced and he hasn't fought good caliber fighters. But you know what? I think when you ask that question, what is it going to take? Absolutely nothing. You know why? Because Benavidez has already gained the love of the people. Now, if you think about this, this reminds me statistically, because it's kind of like almost identical to 2013 when Floyd fought Canelo. Floyd was the pound for pound #1 guy in the world. He was champion in 2 weight divisions, super welterweight and welterweight. And then here you had Canelo was the #1 guy in the Ring magazine. So Floyd was the champion, the Ring magazine champion, and Canelo was the #1 guy. Canelo was undefeated. Canelo was 8 years into his career. He was on a roll, beating everybody, beating all the guys he was supposed to beat. He was also unified champion, and he was the biggest guy and the strongest guy in the division. Fast forward now to 2022, Canelo's that guy. He's that #1 guy. He's the guy that's champion in 2 different divisions. He's that franchise champion that you love, Chris, that belt, you know, in middleweight. And he's also the Ring magazine champion. And well, he has every belt in super middleweight. So it's almost identical. And then you have Benavidez, undefeated, 2-time champion, biggest and strongest guy, also 8 years into his career. Canelo got the chance from Mayweather. It's time, if possible, it's time for Canelo to give Benavidez that chance. Because think about it, Floyd could have fought the WBO champion at that time, which is Timothy Bradley, and Timothy Bradley was the #3 guy on the pound for pound list behind Andre Ward. You know, but no, he chose.
But guess what? If Floyd would have fought Timothy Bradley, the fight wouldn't have did the numbers it did. It did it because
no
of Canelo
kidding, and that's what I'm about to say. And if you be quiet and listen, like I did when you was talking, if you be quiet and listen, you let me finish my point.
Benavidez is not going to offer what Canelo offered Floyd to Canelo. Benavidez is not going to offer the same thing. Why should he?
No kidding, no kidding. But is he going to offer more than Charlo? He's a Mexican fighter. Is he gonna offer more than Charlo? Possibly.
Yes, more danger.
Is he gonna offer more than Andre? Possibly. And you know what? There's no excuses because Benavidez is already a 168 pounder. So it just makes sense. It's identical to when Floyd was fighting Canelo. Now size level, no, of course. In popularity, of course it's not the same. But still, it's just the right thing now. Now, am I saying that Canelo can't fight Charlo? No. Should he fight him? Yeah. Should he fight Andre? Yeah. Should he fight Triple G? Yeah. But you asked me, can I make a case for Benavidez? And I think I just did.
Well, allow me to make my case for Demetrius Andrade, because while I'll never refer to great Sergio. I love that Sergio criticized Demetrius Andrade. Sergio, a guy that nobody wanted to fight either. So Demetrius Andrade is someone that you should have something in common with. Andrade was a title holder at 154 pounds when Canelo was a title holder at 154 pounds. Canelo didn't fight him then. In fact, Andrade moved up. Canelo, after he fought somebody, moved back down to fight for that same title against Liam Smith several years ago. So he waited till Andrade had left and vacated that title. Andrade moves up to 160 pounds, and Canelo doesn't fight him over several years while campaigning at 160. Andrade has the opportunity, because he's the WBO title holder, to vacate that belt and become the mandatory for Canelo at 168 pounds. So you can make a roundabout argument that Canelo's gone out of his way not to fight Demetrius Andrade. You can make the argument. I'm telling you, look at the facts.
He fought Triple G, and he fought Kovalev. He fought guys Danny Jacobs. He fought guys that Demetrius and those other guys probably don't want to fight. Like, they're mentioning Canelo in a 175-pound division. Nobody in 154 or 160 is going up to 175. You mean to tell me you think he's scared of Andre? Andre's a great fighter, and he's a big threat. But you think Canelo has shown that he's scared of anybody?
No, and I said, hold on. I said I wasn't calling him a ducker. I'm saying, but if you just look at the facts,
going out his way,
at two different weight classes, Canelo had the option and the opportunity to fight Demetrius Andrade.
But Chris,
he didn't do it. And hold on,
make...
let's not act like David Benavidez or Jamal Charlo or Golovkin's different, but other guys in and around there bring so much more to the table than Demetrius Andrade. Let's not act like they are overwhelmingly popular and that they have such a broader fan base, that they're bigger and better options than Demetrius Andrade.
I mean, Triple G brought a huge audience. The fact that Canelo moved up to light heavyweight. I said Triple G. I said Triple G's different. You put him off to the side there. By the way, Andrade would fight. Hold on, I'm not done with Andrade here.
Andrade would fight Triple G in a heartbeat. He's been asking to fight at all times. He would have fought Kovalev too. I mean, a lot of people wanted to fight Kovalev.
No, we can't say what he would have done. We can't say.
I mean, I never heard him say he would go up to light heavyweight, ever. And I'm not saying Demetrius doesn't have the ability to compete with Canelo. I love the guy. I think he can fight. I think it's a great matchup. But a guy can only fight a certain amount of people a year. And this is a business. It's prize fighting. So you got business people telling you this fight makes more business sense. It can't just be for the glory and for the legacy and to please the fans. This is a business. So I think that Canelo made the right business decision, moving up to light heavyweight.
I'm not saying he didn't.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he didn't. We're talking about right now.
I got to agree with Ak right there, Mannix. You just, I mean, you're a writer. Choose the right word. You said avoided or scared or, no, that's not, it's a business decision.
No, hold on. Said none of those words. None of those words came out of my mouth.
You said went out his way. Went out his way.
You said scared or avoided, but it was something along the lines where he's avoiding him or he doesn't or fears him. No, that's not the case. It was a business decision. I agree with Ak right there.
Oh, great. But maybe next time, while people are talking, you can listen and get the words right that they actually said. Anyway, next time, by the way, Demetrius Andrade yells at me for not advocating enough for him, I'm directing him back to this segment, this tape.
No, but see, that's the thing. We're not on his payroll. Only you're on his payroll.
Apparently I'm not. I was getting yelled at.
Listen, I don't care if he fights Canelo. I would want him to fight Canelo. I'm not arguing against Andrade. I'm saying Canelo is not ducking anyone. He's not going out of his way. He's not even crossing the street. He's not doing anything to avoid any fighters. He's fighting the best fighters out there. I was in the hotel when you told Demetrius Andrade that he hasn't fought anybody. I would never say that. I know he hasn't fought anybody compared to Canelo, but I'm not going to say that because Canelo didn't fight him, that Canelo's going out of his way. That's crazy. He's fighting Kovalev.
He actually went out of his way to be a free agent in order to make all of those fights actually happen. So if anything, he's doing the total opposite of avoiding people.
Look, I'm not saying, guys, all we're talking about is right now. Like, we're talking about who should Canelo fight next. I'm making the case for Demetrius Andrade. He has as strong a case as Jermall Charlo does and David Benavidez does. As strong a case.
That's a fair statement. I agree with that.
All right. Well, I'm glad we can agree on that. Let's check what people said on the Twitter poll over at Dazn Boxing. Pretty close there. David Benavidez with the lead at just over 30%. Jermall Charlo and Triple G coming in at 27-ish%, and Demetrius Andrade, poor Demetrius, bringing up the rear with 13%.
He's on the list at least. He made some numbers.